All right. So I think I tried to explain to anyone who would listen, what was my rationale personally for making the decision to leave the U.S. to get a job here. And a lot of you, I actually sought help with forming that rationale, making that decision, and I appreciate the input you gave. But I thought, for the sake of the channel, content creation, let's run through 13 reasons why I that tipped me towards wanting to take a new job and leave the U.S. Uh, so the headline is reason number one: life is risk, and whether we choose to stay where we are, drive a car versus pedal a bike versus take a train, uh, everything we do, whether or not we realize it, we are making a risk calculation. And how much effort is it worth to bring down the risk in your life or during a certain activity? And where this came out to me is if I think about how much it's going to cost me in various ways to relocate to Sweden for at least a year, how much risk avoidance is that worth? What is a tolerable risk for staying in the US if moving to Sweden for at least a year is an alternative? And I came up with 5%. What does that mean? Like a 5% chance that in a year or two or three, the US is just fundamentally unsafe, unfree. You go through the Bill of Rights, and some of them have asterisks now. You know, I hope it's not going to happen, but I decided that a 5% chance of that happening in the US was the point at which I would try moving over here to see what happens. The way I came to that, because if I sit here and I'm like, oh, I'm going to roll a d20, and if it comes up one, that's a 20-sided dice, and if it comes up on a one, then I'm no longer in a democracy that's free and safe. That risk was too high. But then I thought that's a 5% risk. But then if I thought, well, if I flip, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 quarters and they all come up heads, is that an acceptable risk? And I'm like, yeah, at that point. So that's 3%. And so conveniently I have this 3 to 5% framing where 5% or above, too much risk. So a lot of things that I say beyond this will kind of feed into that 5%. But number two, why to leave the U.S.? Because I believe I can do good from here in Sweden. If shit really does hit the fan, I will be somebody who is not mixed up in it. I will be a non-casualty. The way I like to think of it, this is a firmer place to take my stand if, again, things go really, really ugly in the U.S. And as a diverse thing, like how many, you might have 20 friends that are in the U.S., but like if you have one person who knows a little bit about the immigration system, about asylum law, hopefully that would make me a decent resource. And moreover, people who are absolutely fighting the good fight, if I had to call out one organization, it would be all of us in Schenectady, New York. I can still support those groups from here. I can do remote work, I can volunteer, contact voters, write grants, maybe that kind of thing. So I think I can do good from here, and that is important because I have a fuck ton of privilege, of course. And if I could not use that for good, I am misplacing, you know, my usefulness in life and missing the point of my life. So I think I can still do that here. And like Sweden isn't perfect. I can, there's some things to do here as well. Give blood, help out with various community initiatives, whatever. Number three, and we'll start trying to go through these a little more quicker, abortion bans, or if you want to say forced births, or criminalizing miscarriages. Uh, Once we lost that right as a country, the right to health care and abortion specifically, it's just a roll of the dice. If someone I love, my wife, is she gonna get pregnant? What if there's an issue? Is she gonna have to go septic outside an ER waiting for care because we're in the wrong state or because they passed a national abortion ban, I don't want to be around to find out. That's not a time bomb I want to deal with. Number 4, what do my tax dollars go to? If I'm making 140 grand in the U.S., it's a lot less here. 140 grand in the U.S., I'm paying, a fifth of that in taxes, $28,000. That's more than I give to charity. What I want it going towards. What we have done as a country in Gaza and funding Israel, sending them weapons, giving subsidies to oil companies, run down the list of all the things the U.S. has done wrong. And I am happy that my tax dollars will not be going towards that while I'm over here. It's a nice thing. Number 5, research. If you've heard anything about Alzheimer's, cancer research is being shut down. Well, it is, and they got hit the hardest. I have friends that did Alzheimer's research, and that got just, shit mixed. Hopefully things will move forward in the future, but all kinds of scientific research are at risk. Funding is just not coming in. It's being held up for bureaucratic, excuses, and it's not a great time to be a researcher in the U.S. And even my employer, GE, feeling a bit of a squeeze from all the Department of Energy funding that's being held up. If I can save my company a little bit of money, my ex-company a little bit of money, a little bonus there, right? Number 6, clean air and water. All the regulations they're getting rid of, that might not be guaranteed in the U.S. Number 7, speaking of energy research, what grid do I want to support? I do not want to support a grid that is going to be adding more natural gas because, we just need all these data centers for our precious, precious AI. No, I want to be somewhere that has nuclear, wind, hydro, biomass, as well as, efficiency measures. I want my money to go towards an energy system that is fighting climate change, removing carbon from the atmosphere. There's a project to do that with bioenergy, carbon capture and storage in Stockholm, like one of the first of its kind. I don't want to mess around with a fossil fuel country anymore, so it's a great reason to be here. Number 7, freedom and rights. I want to live in freedom and safety, and I want to be a stepping stone to help other people find freedom and safety, right? So they are taking people off the streets, putting them into vans, agents with no marking, no badge, no nothing, masks on, not giving them a trial, and sending them to just some country where they get tortured, maybe killed. And that is not a place I want to live. I want my right to a fair trial. I want my freedom from cruel and unusual punishment. I want my freedom to vote, my right to have that vote counted, my freedom to say what I want without being, and this has already happened, sued out of existence, stopped at the U.S. border and detained in another room and interrogated for hours just because I said something the administration doesn't like. Luckily, I'm not going to have anyone watching this, so we're good, but I don't want to live in that country, and if I can help other people get out, great. Number 9, among everything else that happened early on, the people who control the legality and the constitutionality, those determinations of what can we constitutionally do for the military, the JAG, J-A-G, those got replaced by yes men early on in the administration. And so if, rubber hits the road and the military is getting involved like it did already in Los Angeles, they decided the Constitution doesn't matter for the military anymore. That's a reason to think we're above a 5% risk, right? They're ignoring court orders. The Congress has been messed up for a long time, but if you're talking balance of power, now that the Supreme Court has given the president immunity for anything, now that there hasn't been accountability from the judicial system, now that even when there is a court order from the judicial system, it can just get ignored and nothing happens. That is not balance of power. That's not the democracy I grew up with. Another thing, and this is a real whiny thing of mine, I and a lot of other people, in my case, since 2015, have been pushing for justice, for social and political change, away from corruption, away from all the old tired bullshit, towards a government that is actually human-centered in terms of the policy and the politics. And we've had victories on that front, but by God, we voted for this guy. So many people voted for this guy 3 times now, despite seeing everything that happened. And I just can't. It's people are going to stay in the fight in the U.S., but for me that is tiring, and I cannot trust that there'll be a clear and prevalent shift in United States society that will ultimately build a power structure that replaces MAGA, right? I don't have faith in the society to do that anymore, and I've been trying to help make it happen, for 10 years. And I'll keep trying to make it happen here, but I'm skeptical. I'm ready for it to fail, to have to go through 1 or 2 violent cycles to come back to a free and safe place. Oh, that was number 11, I think. Number 12. The people who are supposed to be the good guys in politics. Basically, there have been ineffective political actors from most corners of the quote-unquote resistance, of the opposition to this regime, and they've not been able to do things effectively, right? I don't know what I would tell them to do, but it's not my job. But they have not stood up and stopped things. What's particularly galling is when Hitler was elected, he only had 33% of the vote, and the reason that he got to become chancellor was because the center-left party decided, oh no, we can't have the socialists come into power. Let's have Hitler. He's just going to be this, but we're going to back off. Let Hitler have his little song and dance. At least the socialists will be out of power. I can't say we've done tremendously different in the U.S. And so all that fecklessness has gotten old. I don't trust the opposition in politics to keep us safe, to change the power structure in the U.S. Finally, number 13, why do I think there's at least a 5% risk of trying to prevent free and fair elections? They did it already. Not only did they do it already, and we all saw it on TV, people still voted for it. And that is a very big flashing light. Past behavior is the best predictor of present behavior, my wife likes to say, or future behavior, my wife likes to say. And the way the voters acted, the way that the Republicans acted, the way that the rest of us acted, they already did it. So of course they're gonna, pull some funny business again, and I just hope it's not enough to, throw us into turmoil as a unsafe, unfree country. So there's 13 reasons why. Let me do something more positive now.